A unwelcome cold front for a select few in the Panhandle this morning with freezing drizzle. Everyone else, guess what? Another day of very warm temperatures. What's this weekend and next week looking like? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's not going to be as nice as today. Let's talk about it in the Tuesday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. And hello and good day. It's Tuesday, the 4th of February, 2025. I'm Texas Weather Center's Bully-in-Chief David Reimer. It is going to be a mostly sunny, well, not actually really. It's going to actually be a pretty cloudy day across the state, but we are anticipating a pretty warm day, even with the clouds. And then once we get back into tomorrow and Thursday, well, it's just going to be hot for February, that's for sure. We broke records yesterday with the earliest 90-degree temperature on record for Lubbock. A lot of folks out in the Panhandle, West Texas, were in the low 90s yesterday, and you'd be mistaken for thinking it was April, but nope, it's early February, and the fire weather conditions are spotted accordingly. For today, the wildfire danger from the Texas A&M Forest Service a bit lower. We're looking at mostly moderate conditions across the western half of Texas, with a area of high fire danger possible in the Big Bend, the Trans-Pecos, out into far west Texas and the borderland. Getting back into Wednesday and Thursday, that danger ramps back up into the upper categories of very high to extreme across the Texas Panhandle, West Texas, the Permian Basin, the Guadalupe Mountains, the Davis Mountains, the Trans-Pecos, into the borderland of far west Texas, down into the Big Bend, portions of northwest Texas, the Big Country, and the Concho Valley. Again, remember, it's February. The grasses are still completely dormant because it's winter, and thus they will burn quite easily, especially when temperatures are in the 80s and there's a lot of sunshine. Here's the high-res rapid refresh model for today, tonight, to Wednesday. We are expecting a decent amount of cloud cover across the state today with a passing upper-level storm system. Just not going to be able to squeak out much more than a few sprinkles across the state, maybe some freezing drizzle in the northeastern Panhandle this morning. Otherwise, as we go into tonight, we'll start seeing clouds clear, and then as you can see tomorrow, we're going to see mostly sunny skies across a majority of the state, with really not any precipitation expected tomorrow through, let's just say, Saturday on the longer range of the forecast. Again, today, maybe a few sprinkles. That's it. Maybe a light shower. Nothing that's really even going to amount to anything more than a few hundredths of an inch if you're lucky. The long-range American weather model, the global forecast system, taking us into the latter half of the week, showing maybe some clouds and fog starting off Thursday morning across the coastal plain, southeast Texas, the Golden Triangle. Thursday is going to be a warm day, southerly winds. Same situation going into Friday morning, maybe some patchy fog across southeast Texas, back into south central Texas, the coastal plains. Otherwise, south winds, really it's actually looking pretty nice. We're not looking at active weather. We're not looking at any sort of significant issues outside of maybe some morning fog near the Gulf Coast, southeast Texas, south central Texas, Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning. Now, as we get into Saturday night and Sunday, a cold front is going to move south across at least the northern two-thirds of the state, if not a majority of the state itself, with the temperatures coming on back down, back to February norms, I'm afraid. If you're a fan of the warm weather, enjoy Saturday, because that's probably going to be the last warmish day we see for a while. And then we get into a more precipitous weather pattern going into Sunday, Monday, and that does look to continue into next week. Those specifics at this range are unclear. Some data suggests maybe a non-zero chance for some winter mischief, but that data also showed a much higher chance of winter mischief for next week a few days ago, and that's backed off for now. So the general consensus is we are anticipating a return to seasonal norms going into Sunday and next week across at least the northern 75% of Texas, meaning say goodbye to those high temperatures in the 70s and 80s. And we are also expecting precipitation chances to return going into next week. In terms of 5-day rain totals across not only Texas, but the United States, here you go. This will take us through 6 a.m. Central Time, Sunday, the 9th of February. You can see we are expecting precipitation across the northeastern United States and a pretty good system, atmospheric river across California. That'll be snow around Reno, Nevada, down into the higher elevation mountains of eastern California. That'll be in the form of snow, so they're going to get a lot of snow. Pretty good rains across NorCal, with some rain possible down into Southern California as well, but much less so. And then the coasts of Washington, Oregon looking wet, but not as wet as, say, the last couple days when they dealt with a winter storm. Here in Texas, you can see we are dry, with no precipitation totals exceeding 1/10 of an inch. Today, we did have a cold front move into parts of the Panhandle, northwest Texas. You can see it's only going to be in the 30s this afternoon across northwestern Oklahoma. Contrast that with DFW, 70s. South Texas, we're going to probably be back in the 90s again this afternoon. Mostly upper 80s, but probably a few lower 90s. 42 in Perryton, 44 Canadian, 54 Amarillo, 65 in Lubbock, 76 in Odessa. We're looking at 86 in Fort Stockton, 82 El Paso, about 68 to 70 DFW. This is going to be a case where those of you in Decatur over to McKinney may be about 60 to 64, while Fort Worth, Dallas, closer to 68. And 70 to 72 down in Cleburne, Waxahachie, down to Hillsboro, 76 Texarkana, 78 in Longview. We're looking at 80 in Houston, 83 San Antonio, 80 in Austin, 74 in Waco, about 79 Brownsville, 84 in McAllen, 88 Laredo, 82 in Corpus Christi. As we go into tomorrow, cold front goes bye-bye. Temperatures in the Panhandle, where today highs are in the 40s, will be back in the 80s tomorrow. Nothing like a 40-degree temperature swing to make one's immune system realize just how fun it can be to deal with these temperature swings in the winter months. Highs statewide, 70s and 80s, with a few lower 90s probable, but we'll just have to see where those end up. Going into Thursday, we actually warm up some as another cool front tries to push into the northern Panhandle, northern Oklahoma. There's some uncertainty how quick this front's going to move south, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. But otherwise, we're looking at highs across Texas, mostly in the 80s and 90s. We're looking at 85 DFW, 86 Abilene, 83 in Odessa, Midland, 78 in El Paso, 87 Fort Stockton. We're looking at 91 Laredo, 88 in Del Rio, 88 to 89 in McAllen, 81 Brownsville, 74 along the immediate Corpus Christi Gulf Coast. Once you make it just inland, we're up into the mid-80s. 82 to 83 in Houston, 86 San Antonio, 85 Austin, 84 Waco, 81 Texarkana and Tyler, 80 down in Jasper, 77 in Beaumont and Port Arthur, 72 in Amarillo. Going into Friday, well, that cold front lifts a bit back north, highs back into the 70s across the Panhandle, 92 in Laredo, 86 San Antonio, still upper 80s to low 90s across the southern third of the state up into the big country, the Concho Valley, the Hill Country, 70s, 80s, everyone else in Texas. And then as we get into Saturday, we're going to see high temperatures actually get ridiculous for February. We're looking at mid-90s, if not upper 90s, in the Edwards Plateau, the Rio Grande Plains, at least 94 in Laredo. Those around Laredo, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if you're closer to 100 on Saturday, 97, 98. We're looking at 90 McAllen, 90 San Antonio, 87 Austin, 88 in DFW, 84 in Houston, 83 in Longview, 82 Texarkana, 76 El Paso, 88 in Fort Stockton. What is that, about 90 in Llano, 87 in Abilene, 80 Wichita Falls, and 68 in Amarillo, 56 in Perryton, and that will mark the arrival and the beginning of Crashy the Cold Front. And enjoy it, because temperatures are going to be going down quite a bit compared to the 90s as we go into next week across the northern, at least 80% of the state. Here's a long-range temperature outlook. You can see, yes, the blue of doom has returned. That is indicative of a cold front arriving in the upcoming 5 to 6 day time frame, with below average temperatures expected across the northern 2/3 of the state. This doesn't look like a significant, Arctic Crashy the cold front situation like it kind of did a few days ago, but it's going to still be much colder compared to where we are now. I mean, that's not difficult to achieve when we're doing 80s and 90s in February. So with that, yeah, it's going to get cooler. And then precipitation chances, again, we are looking more likely than not. We will have at least a few rounds of precipitation next week, with a precipitous weather pattern setting up across the state of Texas. That's it for your Tuesday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. As always, you can get your local weather forecast, interactive weather radar, daily Texas weather roundups, and more in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers where you download apps to your device. And of course, here on the Texas Weather Center YouTube channel, we definitely appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button. Give us a bit of a boost in that magical algorithm. And if you haven't already, feel free to join us. Click that subscribe button to get notified when we publish new Texas weather content. We'll be back bright and early tomorrow, Wednesday, the 5th of February, for a new edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Y'all make it a great Tuesday. Enjoy the warm weather. And as always, God bless.